yes. I just want to reflect a little back on the kind of the time that we are living in, right? We are living in an unprecedented time of technology shift. Moments like this are very rare in history, if you will. AI has disrupted every single industry that we know, right? Everything has shifted right under our feet. So, given that, what about telco, right? Um, a decade back, telco was utility, it was commodity. Now, today, fast forward 10 years, and you know that connectivity is the new currency. Connectivity has changed everything about what we do, the way we do business, the way we take technology to people, and it has changed everything that we do in our day to day lives, right? As we look at the horizon, I can clearly see that there are four major pillars that are evolving, which will shape the technology world no matter which industry you're in. The number one is the infrastructure, right? The high performance compute and the networking and the storage that you will. The second one is definitely telecom, right? The 6G and the futuristic technologies that are coming in. The third one is AI, agentic, how autonomous we become in what we do. And the fourth one is definitely how safely we take this, how safely we do the ethical aspect of it, right? So, how best way, what could be a better way to understand what is on the anvil other than, directly talking to the very women who are defining, shaping, and consulting businesses on these four aspects. So, with that and without much further ado, let me introduce our esteemed guests to this beautiful panel. Cristina Rodriguez, VP GM, Network and Edge GTM for Intel. Christina, welcome to the discussion. Happy to have you on board.
Thank you for having me. Great
Yeah,
to be here.
yeah, of course. And Monica Paolini, whom I've had the pleasure of talking earlier, Principal Senza Fili. Monica, welcome to the panel.
Thank you so much for having me.
And finally, Dimitra Simeonidou, I hope I pronounced your name properly, Director, Smart Internal Lab and consultant to the EU Commission. So welcome on board, all of you. Yeah. So, Christina, I'm going to start with you, right? The entire disruption in the AI started with the infrastructure. So, what is your take on, how much infrastructure is contributing to the technology shift and all the AI first data centers in the world that we are talking about?
AI is everywhere, right? We know that, and certainly we know that in this show, a lot of AI topic, and for a good reason, right? We know AI is here, and we know it will be a big part or a fundamental part of everything in the future. When you come to the infrastructure where AI is being deployed, when AI workloads is being starting to see the use of it and started to see how can impact every single aspect from the data center, the infrastructure, the network, and this we need to have the aspect of that, and why we are at a moment where this is possible is the amount of technology that we have today that can cover exactly all that from the cloud and the data centers, the entire infrastructure, the core, the network, the RAN, the access, the edge. So it's important how we see the multiple tools, the multiple technologies that are available to us in order to make that a reality today, right? And I'm going to talk, of course, very close to my heart is the technology that we have at Intel, and the fact that we have our Xeon line of products that you can do inference at very good cost, at very, very good total cost of ownership, very good performance per power. And this is important because when it comes to AI, you have to have the right architecture for the right workload. You don't want to throw a lot of money when you don't need it. You don't want to throw a lot of power when you don't need it. So it's very important. We're going to use it all in this, from cloud to core to RAN. We're going to use it all, but it's very important to have the right technology for the right workload.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And one follow up question that I have, right? The C suite always measures the benefits of the investments that we make. Is always compared against the tangible benefits that we are able to deliver. So one question that I had is that you did talk about AI at the edge and the investments that we are making. Are we seeing real benefits at the edge in terms of being able to drive autonomous network operations, or you think it's just too early to talk
Well,
about that?
we are seeing it now, and that's exactly what I was referring to. We have the technology today. We can do the inference today. We're seeing deployments at the edge and possibilities and use cases beyond the deployments that can be put to practice right now. We have, if you look at the edge, the multiple verticals we have in our booth here at Intel, we are actually demonstrating multiple use cases and multiple software vendors that have developed applications with AI heavily being used. We have, for example, we have a platform that we are part of it that Cisco launched, the Cisco Unified Edge. We have an XR8000 platform that we support that coming from Dell. And in both cases, these are platforms that you can deploy to the edge. You have, again, there is at the heart of it, there is a Xeon processor, an SoC Xeon 6, Granite Rapid D processor. But you have built-in AI. You don't need another component. You can do all the inference until 9, 10 billion of parameters that you can do right there, very low cost and very low complexity. It is the same platform that can do everything. Absolutely is available now. Absolutely, we're seeing the deployment of use cases right now at this moment.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, Dimitra, that brings me to the question, right? Like, I want your view on, can you list a few fundamental technologies that operators should be looking at right now in order to be able to run truly autonomous networks from the cloud to the edge and to the RAN, right? If you could pick some 3 or 4 technologies that you think the operators should be adopting right now with a sense of urgency, what would those be?
Oh, that is a good question. Eight, this one. So invest actually on computation and capabilities and functionality at the edge. Of course, operators, especially public operators, they're thinking about the large pipes, but the reality is that functionality and agility and actually serving applications is at the edge. So how we can make that edge richer, and increasingly how we can make it richer with computational and GPU resource, so we can do things in a distributed way. Inference is one, but not only. For instance, model drifts and model drift monitoring at the edge is very important, and that is beyond training, is really detecting drift and retrain, and also the capability actually to be able to utilize that resource, aggregate it, and provide it either from the network service provider's own needs or for third party applications. So that's the one. The second one is observability at scale.
Yes.
Monitoring. I mean, monitoring is extremely important, and we have to make monitoring unified, from the access to the edge, to the cloud, to the transport, and make this monitoring information model ready. That is the really second one. And of course, for me, a very important thing is how you utilize this information, both at the edge and across the platform, in order to actually extract knowledge out of that. So analytics, and then open source. So we can co-create. And operators, they should co-create with their users, develop the opportunity to add value and develop the trust. So that is something open source platforms for leveraging this information out of the network are very important in my view.
So I just picked up observability, analytics, and a unified management, right? As some of the critical technologies that you will
Unified
yeah,
way to actually extract knowledge,
Yes.
and how you leverage that knowledge is it's a different thing. It's the kind of business cases that you are building beyond
Yeah.
connectivity services.
Monica, I would like to shift the conversation slightly towards operators, right? So, one interesting observation that I have about 5G is there are two groups. One group that says we have benefits from the open RAN and the disaggregation we have done. And there is another group that says we've overcomplicated networking because of the sheer amount of interoperability that you have to do because of the 7.2x split and and how it allows multiple players to coexist, right? So my question to you is, what are you advising operators in terms of how to simplify? Because AI is going to add more complexity. We are adding a more layer of autonomous and agentic and all that, right? So, how do you think operators should simplify their deployment models so that all of this still remains simple and not overly complicated? That we are optimizing for something which is going to bite back at us, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say it's not just operators, but the whole ecosystem. And because we actually, what we have seen is that we had too strict of a concept of Open RAN, and that forced us into doing, everybody has to interoperate with everybody else. And it's just like hundreds of companies working in Open RAN. And so we need to focus on what we need rather than what we think we should need or what we want to do. So a company like Rakuten Mobile is like a greenfield operator. It's easier because you start from scratch and you can do best. Uh, if you have a brownfield operator, you have a lot of constraints. So you have to build within those constraints, understand what your needs are and what's the best way to approach it. Every operator is going to be different. You need to understand what you need to do and then keep it simple, manageable. I hear it from operators and vendors in the same way that things are getting too complicated. And the thing is that we don't have to adhere to a definition of Open RAN. Open RAN is what you make out of it, what you need.
Right. So again, a follow-up question, right? Do you think we have seen any tangible business benefits from Open RAN? I mean, and if we have indeed, what are operators telling you about the tangible benefits, right? That the C-suite can actually measure as, the customer satisfaction or the cost reduction or the energy savings. What do you think? Where do you think they've seen the maximum benefits out of Open RAN?
The benefits that I hear about the most is the flexibility to chart, and so it's really hard to actually put a number like 10% ROI or whatever. And the reason for that is because it's really an integrated part of what you do. Is part of the strategy of a bigger strategy. So what is Open RAN and what isn't is really hard, and it's not because it's bad. And it's actually going to be a long-term thing about the flexibility. And the flexibility gives you a lot of advantages, but it's not like you have Open RAN and all of a sudden quality of experience doubles. It's not like that. This is just trivializing the issue. It's much more than that.
Okay. So one again following up on the Open RAN thread, right? Like industrialization of Open RAN in terms of a standard base is still at large, right? I mean, operators have their own way of industrializing Open RAN in terms of repeatability, etc. So Christina, I mean to you, right? What investment priorities do you think the industry? I'm not talking about a specific operator, right? If we have to really industrialize this and make it predictable and start seeing tangible benefits, what would you say the investment priorities should be?
So before I do that, before I answer your question,
Yes.
I wanna make a comment. You were saying what are the tangible benefit. I'll give you an example. What Rakuten has done, unbelievable.
Yes.
They have created a whole network, super successful, with their own open standard, or with open standards, with their own virtualized network.
Yes.
You couldn't have done that without the principles of Open RAN flexibility and creating everything from a general purpose processor, server architecture, and open standards. So I think if you want to see what can be done, what Rakuten has done is amazing,
Yes.
right? There is others, right? You see, for example, I'll mention others. Telus will tell you the benefit of running, and they are being very open about the benefit of having an Open RAN virtualized architecture. And there are others that we can definitely publicly talk about it. So that is undeniable. The benefit there, the future, the the thinking that you can have more participants, that you can have a richer ecosystem, that you can have a virtualized, and I'm mixing a little bit here, open and
Yeah.
virtualized, because I think it goes together. But the idea that you can have a software platform that can innovate at the speed of software, that is undeniable.
Yes.
That is where the future is, and AI being a part of that.
Yeah,
If you want to innovate with AI, you need a virtual software defined flexible platform. So that's that. Now, investment, what do we need to invest? We need to continue investing in how do we put it all together, right? I think the technology is definitely there. It's more of a commitment to going to the path to to follow through, right? The commitments we have from the architecture point of view. I think we have everything we need. The proof points are there. The multiple operators, Rakuten for sure, proving that. So the proof points are there. It's more like, well, let's continue building the ecosystem, right? We need to continue building the ecosystem. We need to continue bringing the software vendors into it, because there's an opportunity for new applications. There's an opportunity to, for example, bring AI into it, using the technology that exists on how we do the spectrum more efficient. How do we do better power management? How do we do better just infrastructure in general, predictive maintenance, automation, zero touch automation. So we have to continue investing on that software and software ecosystem and hardware ecosystem, but the path is very clear.
Okay, that's a beautiful point. I take it that, ecosystem is going to define how we are able to move forward on the path that we have taken. So over to you, Dimitra. I mean, are you recommending anything at the policy level, at the governance level, for us to, Open RAN to be industrialized, to be more standard? And yeah,
I Before I go to the policy, and because I think Open RAN is more successful in places than others. Yes, it's not the same story everywhere if we are looking at that regionally. And I have been a huge supporter of Open RAN from the very beginning. And I agree, it's all an ecosystem problem. And for me, the ecosystem is on the software side, specifically on the apps side, X apps and R apps. Can we create that ecosystem? Very active, productive ecosystem when we can create and exchange apps and create values. Because I don't think it's right to compete and say Open RAN is going to be exactly the same performance as the vertically integrated solutions. It's actually how much flexibility and added value is going to give us through software assets that we can create a community of developers. Now, I'm mostly thinking on the policy side, places and regions that are struggling to establish Open RAN and open networking in general. And it's not only Open RAN, it's openness in the rest of the system as well.
yes.
What I would actually recommend my government in the UK or in the EU, when you are looking at public procurement, make actually interoperability and multi-vendor play as a must for the procurement process.
Okay.
Because that could allow this environment,
Yeah.
and that could incentivize the actual uh, deployment of open
Yeah.
open infrastructure.
Yeah. So talking about interoperability, etc., right? We've spoken about the RAN and the network, ecosystem. I have a question for you, Monica. I mean, we cannot deny the emergence of hyperscalers as a very powerful entity in and challenging how we have done telecom compared to the past, right? They are emerging as a very powerful player in terms of how much infrastructure they control, as well as how much of a stake they now have in telecom. So, do you think it is time for the CSPs and the telecom operators to start thinking about collaboration with the hyperscalers rather than compete? And if you do agree with that, where do you think the best areas of collaboration exist?
Okay, let me tie to what Dimitra just said, that Open RAN is more than, well, Open RAN with the capital O, which I usually spell with a small O. And so it's really openness across the system, which is going back to my previous question. That's why it's so hard to quantify, because we need to open everything. And so it's not just the front hall interface, it's apps and everything, and it's different for everybody. So I think, and this is why Rakuten has been very good, because you're not just opening the front hall interface, it's opening the whole thing.
Network, yeah.
It's much more of a challenge, and you guys got a lot of challenges from everybody in the world from that, and you've showed that actually it can be done. But it's not just the technical open, right? It's much, much more than that. So we need to think about it. So hyperscalers are a part of that. And so, and it really is important. And I think that for operators, it's important to understand what is their role, and for hyperscalers to understand what's their role so that you can cooperate, because the ecosystem only works with everybody understands and they're willing to work towards their goal, and they're not trying to do everything.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a little bit of a risk where everybody wants to do everything and then it's hard to collaborate. But this is something that in fact, even wireless and wireless, everything, we need to think of connectivity as a whole. And in that sense, you need everybody to work together. And the success is not a success of a single company. Rakuten Mobile, I mean, the network, cannot be successful without the help of everybody else.
Yeah.
Nobody can do it.
Yeah.
So we need to find a way to collaborate. And I think that the reason is people understand it. But how to do it, it's hard because you have to build relationships that were not there before.
Yeah.
So you need to understand who does what's the best way to collaborate.
Thank you. So one, just we are running out of time as well, but just one point that I wanted to ask you, right? None of this would make sense if we did not do it in a manner that is safe and ethical. And, all of you know that sovereign AI is becoming a huge talking point in the industry. So, Dimitra, because you deal a lot with the government and all that, how is this shaping up? Like, are there any emerging standards that is helping us to keep this whole technology ethical and safe and take it to the customers in a manner that is good for all?
uh, Having technology good for all is very important, and especially AI is bringing very much in the forefront those questions around safety and trust. But when we are talking about connectivity, for me, it's three things. The first one is accountability. The second one is independent assurances. And the third one is transparency. So, for everything that we are doing, we have to know who is doing what and why, and having independent bodies that they actually provide assurance of security on interoperability, for instance, for Open Run and safety, not just ourselves advertise ourselves. And then transparency, being able actually to publish safety KPIs, not everything, but the key KPIs, being able to report on them, it is very important. And they actually create that environment of trust
Yeah.
on what we are doing. And that's quite important. It's not only perception, it's practice.
Yeah, you use Christina. What is Intel doing? For ethics and safety governance and safety standards, etc.
Of
Right?
course, top mind for us. What I want to say, just as a summary of the question is your, of course, security and ethics and responsibility is top mind for us. It has to be top mind for everyone, and it has to start from the very bottom. You can't just do it at the top layer in software. Start from the hardware and the silicon that is underpinning your architecture. That's what we do, and we make sure that that is taken care from the very bottom of the stack.
Any thoughts from you?
Yes, and so as you say, AI is transformative, and it's transformative not just in telecoms for the whole society. So I think that as a technologist, we have a moral imperative to make sure to drive the discussion, because it's not just us. So clearly, what you're doing is fundamental, but it's a society change. So trust is something that we all need to agree what is trust. And as a technologist, since we know how the technology works, we have to make an extra effort to inform the wider discussion, which is of outside Mobile World Congress,
Yeah.
in society. And so we have a moral responsibility to make sure that not only we have the technology, but we have society to support us in this voyage.
Awesome. It's very heartening to know that all of us are united on, the ethical and the safety part of the technology. So today's panel was named as SheConnects, right? The very fact that it happens in Mobile World Congress is just a coincidence. But the theme of today's, the Women's Day theme this year apparently is give to gain, right? So I just want to ask you one rapid fire question, right? What have you given to the community or to your company or whatever that has actually resulted in a huge gain for you overall?
I think is we have as a women community. We have many women, talented women in the industry today, playing a very important role. So the support to each other, the that sentiment of supporting each other and being there for each other, even if we are in different companies, even if we are in the competition. That's how we move forward together. How do we support each other? Everybody giving their talent. I think that's very rewarding. That sentiment of being together.
I think that as women, we have to sort of a bigger role, a bigger responsibility in speaking up whenever we can because we are underrepresented and traditionally we're not been speaking as much. And I think that we should really talk, and this is what I try to do. I don't know whether I succeeded or not, but to speak um, individually, obviously, whatever everybody thinks, but to speak as women instead. And, I was trained to speak and fit in, to lean in, to do whatever. And I think that it's now we got to a point where actually we can speak in a different way and
Yeah.
we can contribute in a positive way because we can add diversity, a diverse point of view. So it's not just speaking up, but speaking up in our authentic, more authentic way. I think that this is very important.
Okay. Dimitra.
I agree with everything. However, I am a university professor myself. Key part of my job is to train and mentor. And I think I get so much back. You can say this is a gift. Of course it is, but it's part of the job. I gain so much back when I see these young people, especially when they are women, to actually learn and grow and become successful. And this actually exhibition now is full of my ex-students
Yeah.
and I can see them doing fantastic stuff. So, all right, gain a lot.
Awesome. It's amazing. Thank you, ladies, for the wonderful conversation. It was a beautiful conversation. And, we touched upon many topics. And clearly, some of the key takeaways for me is interoperability, ecosystem play stood out as a very important thing. And of course, the reinforcement that AI is indeed, starting to show benefits towards autonomous network operations and that all of us collectively want to do it in the safest way possible. So with that, I want to thank you for your time and yeah, see you all soon.